Today is looking like a good day. Not only have we had the news from Fair Play for Women this morning of the EHRC armouring up, ready to take on the nutters, right? We've got a bit more good news now. You'll remember, right, that Liz Truss put in a private members bill which would clarify sex as meaning biological sex and do away with all the lunacy that's screwing us up, right? So Liz did this, do you recall? And then a bunch of Labour nut jobs filibustered. Now there's a word, it's an American word actually, a filibuster, but it means to talk out time. So you just talk garbage, just in order to stop a particular thing being heard. In this case, it was in reference to the damage of puberty blockers to children, the damage of trans so-called medicine to everyone it touches, in the whole stinking edifice. But there were certain people, Labour and Tory, certain people who obviously didn't want it heard. Liz was seen to be saying on television afterwards that she was furious that it hadn't been heard, and I can understand her anger. But at the time, they talked about ferrets. That's what they did. Whilst they were in the chamber, they spoke about ferrets in order to stop a bill about the protection of children and safeguarding of vulnerable adults from being discussed. So they exchanged names of their different ferrets. That's Labour for you. This was all about safeguarding children. They didn't want it heard. You bring up the term safeguarding and Labour runs. Not all of them, but the ones that did on that day, rattling on about ferrets. Disgusting. So on the back of that, we've got the Tory graph reporting for us. The Tories plan to amend Equality Act to protect single-sex spaces. Government considers manifesto pledge to overhaul new Labour's equality laws in effort to protect women-only spaces and female sports. The Conservatives are preparing to revive Rishi Sunak's leadership pledge to overhaul new Labour's equality laws in an effort to protect single-sex spaces and women's sports. Senior government figures are considering a manifesto commitment to amend the Equality Act, which the Prime Minister previously said had become a Trojan horse for woke nonsense. Yes! Oh, we like to hear that repeated. It is a Trojan horse for woke nonsense, the Equality Act. It's an absolute nonsense. The commitment would include an amendment to the 2010 Equality Act passed while Gordon Brown was Prime Minister to make it unambiguously clear that sex means biological sex, said a source familiar with the discussions. Such a move would remove the current vagueness which is exploited to undermine women's rights, security and competition in sport. It would mean sex being defined by someone's biological sex rather than affirmed or acquired gender. They're going to be furious today. Old Monty will be stamping his size 12s. I'm happy. It would also include, oh yes, a wider review of the legislation. Repeal the bloody GRA and let's get the job done, which Mr. Sunak said during his 2022 leadership campaign was used to engage in social engineering to which no one has given consent. True. True. It's all true. It's all true. The leftists are going to go mad. Oh! But it's true. Senior Tories see the issue as a potential major dividing line with Labour in the election campaign expected later this year. Senior Tories have got a war chest the size of Nebraska and they're going to use it to undermine the woolly thinking Labour lot. Right? I don't think it'll make any difference, by the way. We're still going to get Labour and we're still going to be in serious trouble. But this is good news. Come on, let's take it for a moment. However, it is also a source of tension within the Conservative Party. Well, that's because you've got, what's her name? Caroline Nokey Pokey. Oh, do the Nokey Pokey. Men in, women out, rah, rah, rah. Oh, the Okey Pokey. Oh, the Nokey Pokey. Men in, women out, rah, rah, rah. You put your AGP in, you take your AGP out, in, out, Shame. I'm hiding now. I'm ashamed. Right. Go on. Let's keep going. During the 2022 leadership contest, oh, there we go. Penny Mordaunt. Well, I think didn't she dress as Lancelot recently in Parliament and hold her sword? Now the leader of the Commons came under fire for previously stating that trans men and trans women are women. On Friday, Liz Truss, the former Prime Minister, and Kemi of the Badenoch, the Minister for Women and Equalities, accused Labour MPs of using arcane parliamentary procedure to block a private member's bill drawn up by Ms Truss. That's the filibuster. The private member's bill drawn up by Liz was to ban puberty blockers, protect single-sex spaces and prevent teachers from helping a child change gender. How can anybody argue against that? Oh, you just have to be a lefty, that's right, or a commie, because most leftists don't give a damn about this. You know your old school, let's do a bit of class analysis, try and make things better for everybody leftists. They aren't behind this. It's just the lunatic communist fringe, isn't it? Who are going to be, by the way, running the country. Starmer won't last a year. That's my prediction. I know, I'm guessing. But so it is now unlikely that there will be an opportunity for Parliament to debate Liz Truss's bill. Last week, in an interview with the Torygraph, Baroness Faulkner of Margavine, who chairs the Equality and Human Rights Commission, called for the Equality Act to be updated to clarify the balance between trans and women's rights. I don't know what trans rights are. What, the right to pretend you're something you're not? The right to access women's services or male services when in fact you are neither? No, you aren't male or you aren't a woman. Not that you're not neither. Then we're into that non-binary territory, aren't we? Where's the non-binary territory? Pick a direction. How do we get there? I've no idea. It's non-binary. Right, so is it that way? I don't know, because it could be that way. Non-binary city. The least visited city in the world. Currently, the country is reliant on court rulings. This is important. Sometimes by activist judges to clarify the law, she said. In the latest case, the Supreme Court has been asked to rule on whether the Scottish Government was right to include trans women in its official definition of women. I think this is for Women Scotland doing the work on that one in the background. This is coming to the fore soon. But right now it's incredible, isn't it? As a gay man, because we've no idea what male and female is because of the Scottish ruling, I can't claim direct discrimination. Isn't that weird? Yeah, right. It's just the beginning if we're not careful. In the latest case, the Supreme Court has been asked to rule on whether this Scottish Government ruling is correct. And there are easier ways to do things. And I think sometimes Parliament does have to assert its primacy, says Lady Faulkner, in terms of the legislation that is passed. The intervention came after Kemi Badenoch wrote to the EHRC last year asking for advice on changing the wording of the Equality Act to specify that it protects biological sex rather than sex. We have to be careful here, you see. I don't want more than one definition of sex. But there you go. Have a look, see what you think. I don't think it's good news. Let's celebrate and be joyous, for 'tis Sunday and a roast awaits. All right, so have a great day. I'll see you next week. I'm starting the New Warrior Teachers on Thursday. Come and join us. Bloody hell's wrong with you? See you later, good peeps.